So happy Father's Day. Why don't we celebrate Star Trek dads, right? I mean, look, there are a lot of them. This list by no means is complete, but it's a good list in terms of the importance of the characters and certainly the volume of how many, times we saw them on camera being dads. So here we go. Star Trek dads. Enjoy. So, guys, happy Father's Day. And Star Trek had a father, a dad, a super dad, a super father, and that, of course, was Gene Roddenberry. Now, for years, everyone acknowledges and says how Lucille Ball, good old Lucy with Desilu, bought Gene Roddenberry's idea and script and made it and produced it as Star Trek. Of course, before Lucy got a hold of it, it was Gene Roddenberry. So if Lucille Ball is the mom, is Star Trek's mom, then Gene Roddenberry is Star Trek's dad. What's so great about such a talented man like Gene Roddenberry, he was a World War II decorated pilot. He went on like 80 bombing missions. And then he became an LAPD, a Los Angeles police officer. So before the science fiction of Star Trek, he did some pretty impressive reality in the real world. Captain Kirk, the original, played by William Shatner, all throughout the 3 years, the 3 year mission. It was supposed to be 5 year mission, but it was 3 years. The animated series, the feature films, he was a sort of a surrogate father, a metaphorical father to the crew. Then in Star Trek II, Wrath of Khan, we find David. He finds out that he has a son, and we all realize that Captain Kirk is actually a dad. And as you know, there was a rocky relationship between the two, which was pretty much mended. And then, of course, come Star Trek 3, Search for Spock, and we all know what happens. I never like to spoil, so if you haven't seen it, I'm not going to say it, but it's tragic. That's all I'll say, and I guess you can guess in many ways. But Star Trek Wrath of Khan introduces him, and he's a dad. So now we go to Worf on Star Trek The Next Generation. He became a single father to Alexander, his son, after his great love, K'Ehleyr, is brutally murdered by Duras, the dirty Duras, in probably, I would say, one of the most dramatic scenes, moments, and points in any character in Star Trek's history. Now, Alexander wasn't the most, I would say, well-behaved or wasn't the most Klingon sort of child. So Worf and he clashed for years. Worf always trying to communicate and give him that warrior vibe and, instinct and training, and Alexander sort of backing away. Now, subsequently, then on Deep Space Nine, if you follow those episodes, Alexander would sort of morph around and evolve, and it was really an interesting sort of journey for both characters. Worf was certainly an interesting dad. So now we go to Deep Space Nine with Chief Miles O'Brien, who transitioned into Deep Space Nine duty from Next Generation, and his transfer included his family, Keiko, and his daughter, Molly O'Brien. And it was a great little character. We didn't see her much. Actually, she did about 11 episodes, if I'm correct, on Deep Space Nine. And so certainly each season you had several. One of my favorite, and of course, that is the sort of goodbye episode, is called Time's Orphan. And it's a really interesting episode. It sticks out in my mind. In fact, in terms of any other supporting character, I think it's one of the best. And Miles O'Brien, proud father, was with Molly all the way, taking care of the station as the chief and taking care of his beautiful daughter, Molly. So the most important Star Trek dad of them all is really Benjamin Sisko, first commander, then Captain Ben Sisko, and his son Jake. And for so many reasons, a wonderful relationship on screen and off. Cirroc Lofton, the actor who portrays Jake, I know he said he got close to Avery Brooks, the actor who plays Ben Sisko, and sort of was like that father figure to him. But so much of their relationship, so many can relate to. A single father, because Jennifer, his dear love, of course, passes. We see that in the sort of the prologue emissary in the pilot episode, and he has to raise Jake alone on this big alien space station. And I really related because Jake wanted to become a writer. And at the time, I was just really submitting short stories to publishers and magazines. So I was root for him. And Jake and his father, Ben Sisko, one of the best Star Trek dads of all time.